I'd like to get into a discussion about Reggie Wayne, the former Indianapolis Colts wide receiver, now New England Patriots receiver. And the reason I'd like to talk about this is because we ended the show yesterday talking about sports fans and how weird we all are because we root for colors on clothes, essentially. And literally, as if to prove my point, Reggie Wayne goes from the Indianapolis Colts to the rival Patriots. The Colts and the Patriots have had many run-ins in the past, especially when Peyton Manning was their quarterback. And they had a run-in, of course, last season where the deflated football incident originally started, and the Patriots pounded the Colts to paste, and the Deflategate incident arose from there. So Reggie Wayne goes to New England, and immediately, the hatred and ire of Colts fans followed him there. Reggie Wayne, as it has been said, is probably one of the most beloved Indianapolis Colts in the history of that team's time in Indianapolis. Right, the Colts used to be in Baltimore, actually, before they moved to Indianapolis. They were the Baltimore Colts. And Reggie Wayne is probably one of the most beloved Colts, or he was, until he decided to end his career in New England, play with the Patriots. The Patriots are paying him $2.8 million next season for the 1 year. And Colts fans were not pleased. Reggie Wayne has heard all kinds of things, especially on social media, ranging from how traitorous a traitor he is to just calling him awful names and deriding him as a terrible person. Reggie Wayne is none of these things. He is not a terrible person, and he's not a traitor. He is a person with a skill, and when one company basically decided not to pay him, he went to one that would. The Indianapolis Colts weren't going to re-sign Reggie Wayne. It's not like they both offered him $2.8 million, and then he told the city of Indianapolis, yeah, well, I never like you anyway, and then bounced to New England. The Colts weren't going to bring him back. You're Reggie Wayne. Sure, you're on the backside of your career, but you're thinking to yourself, I've got stuff I can contribute. I've got some gas left in the tank. I can still play the game of football, and I've got the opportunity to go to play with one of the all-time greats in Tom Brady. I'm not going to say no to that. And for $2.8 million, I'm definitely not going to say no to that. I am never, ever, ever against a player getting paid. You have a skill, you can earn money doing it, and someone is willing to pay you for it, then you know what? Go do it. Go do it. And the rest of us that sit back and watch as fans, I'm not saying it makes no sense to dislike Reggie Wayne suddenly. That's not what I'm saying. Because as I mentioned yesterday in my Tony Romo example, if Tony Romo became a Redskin tomorrow, I'd be his biggest fan. He's a Dallas Cowboy, so I don't like him. That's just the way it is. It's rationally irrational. That's part of the fun. That's part of the entertainment of it. But don't get personal on a guy. Don't start calling him names. Don't start berating him on Twitter, Facebook, and other social media. He made a business decision. That's what the NFL is at the end of the day. People being paid for a service that just so happens to entertain you. And that's basically it for that. I mean, I like Reggie Wayne a lot. I think that he does have a lot to offer. I think it's actually perplexing that the Colts didn't sign him back, but I'm not going to sit there and tell the Colts what they should do. They did have to pay a lot of money to their younger wide receiver, who also looks like he might be a star one day, stud, T.Y. Hilton, who they drafted actually in the same season as they did Andrew Luck. They're going to have to pay Luck pretty soon. They're going to probably have to pay for some kind of running back to support Andrew Luck in that offense. It's just him throwing the ball right now. They need to run the football more. They've got people that they've got to pay. You know, you can't afford to bring back Reggie Wayne. I get it. And Reggie Wayne, you think you can still play. You don't want to waste the ending years of your career playing for some nobody team with no quarterback. I mean, wide receivers have to have good quarterbacks. Like, even the great wide receivers have no quarterback and they fall off the face of the earth. For that example, I turn to the Arizona Cardinals Larry Fitzgerald is probably one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen. And when Kurt Warner was playing down there, he was amazing. And after Kurt Warner retired, we never heard or saw from Larry Fitzgerald like ever again. He's been in a couple of commercials. The Cardinals are terrible, and it's not his fault. He just doesn't have a good quarterback throwing to him consistently. If Carson Palmer can stay healthy for them this year, well, things might change there. But as of this moment, not so much. So Reggie Wayne makes the jump to the Patriots. Makes perfect sense to me. I understand why the fans are upset, but be upset to yourself. Keep it to yourself. My mom and my grandma always told me, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Keep it to yourself. Michael Vick, the former Atlanta Falcons quarterback and Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, has signed a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers to back up Big Ben Roethlisberger over in Pittsburgh. And I want to take this time to talk about Michael Vick and his career, because he's got one of the weirder career arcs probably in the history of the league. He's a guy that's been incredibly gifted athletically and physically, and for some reason was just not ever able to get it done. And, well, we know what that reason is. It's injuries. It's injuries, and, of course, the 1 year that he spent in prison after being arrested for dogfighting was absolutely heinous. I think a lot of people didn't want to see him in the league after that. And so for him to be able to come back and be an advocate for protecting the rights of animals, I think that he's done a great job of turning his life around in that regard. But in Atlanta, his big issue was that he could just never stay on the field. And part of that is the style of play that he played. Incredibly aggressive play style that involved, despite the fact that he was a quarterback, not so much throwing the ball, but running the ball. And some of the most electrifying plays that I've ever seen involve Michael Vick running the ball. You can't catch this guy when he's gone. When he leaves you behind, you don't run him down, you don't chase him, you give up. You will only have chased tired. And he took a lot of hits because of that. I mean, when guys were able to get their hands on him, much larger linebackers, much larger safeties, they made him pay for all of that speed. And he's had, I think he had 2 or 3 season-ending injuries because of the way that he played. And I almost, like, I read the headline, I had to double take because I was like, can Michael Vick still play? I don't know. I mean, he'll be backing up Big Ben, so it's not like he's going to be called upon to be the starter. And if he does end up playing, either something went very, very wrong with the Steelers this season, or Big Ben got injured, or there's some kind of trick play going on. So there's got to be some rational reason for why things are unraveling in that fashion. But good for Michael Vick. I mean, we're going to be talking a little bit about Bill Simmons later today. And one of the things that Bill Simmons and Jalen Rose used to do on their podcast back when he worked for Grantland was they talk about guys who keep getting them checks, guys who are not necessarily the finest in the league. Maybe they're a little too old. Maybe they're past their prime, but they do just enough to stay on somebody's roster, stay on somebody's radar. And those guys are what we would refer to as keep getting them checks guys. And I think Michael Vick might be that guy. He's okay with bouncing around, being a backup, being a journeyman. You know, it's good money if you can get it. I wish I could do that. I'd be down for that, you know? Collecting a paycheck while not necessarily doing anything in particular. I would be all for that. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. The Tennessee Titans played in their preseason game last week, and I wanted to talk about Marcus Mariota. He looked really, really good. Like, here's the thing with Marcus Mariota coming out of that spread offense that I personally have seen a lot of quarterbacks come out of simple spread offenses, and they're not able to adjust to the speed of the NFL game, to the kinds of throws that they're being asked to make, which is basically throws into tight windows. They have to throw with anticipation. To throw with anticipation basically means to throw the ball to the spot the receiver is going to be at. Don't wait till he gets there. Throw it to where he's going to be. And that's a hard thing to do. It really is. It's a hard thing to ask a young guy to do. And he's done an incredible job so far. And it is just the preseason. He looked very rough in that first game. He had back-to-back interceptions and fumbles and things of that nature. But Marcus Mariota is a sharp guy, smart guy, and he didn't look overwhelmed in the second preseason game. He didn't look like he was lost or like he was confused as to how to play in the NFL. Now, again, this is the preseason, so you always take these forms of analysis with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to him or when you talk about Jameis Winston, who got drafted by Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers. You take these things with a grain of salt. No NFL defense is running their full defense right now. They're not. These defenses are vanilla. They're the basic look. But the fact of the matter is you've got a couple of rookies in him and Jameis Winston, actually. They both looked good. Both looked like number 1 and number 2 guys. You've got a couple of guys here that look like they could be the real deal. And we've been talking a lot about quarterbacks this week. Both Michael Bennett's comments yesterday about quarterbacks and a lot of the RG3 stuff. When it comes to having a quarterback, you've got to take a chance on guys like this. And Mariota, in my opinion, was kind of a huge risk for the Titans, only in as much as if he doesn't pan out, I mean, that's a high draft pick that's just not going anywhere. And you could have used that at any other position of need, of which the Titans have many. They have several. They've been doing a very good job of filling them up, but you waste a pick on a quarterback, that sets you back 3-4 years. Because, of course, you've got to get the guy a chance to actually work out and see and give him a chance to win the job over the course of time. And so you don't want to waste a pick, and so that's a huge risk. I think you draft a guy like Andrew Luck, Jameis Winston, Peyton Manning. You draft guys like that, to me, those guys are slam dunks. You're not going to miss there, I don't think. But those number 2 guys, you draft Robert Griffin, you draft Ryan Leaf, God forbid, you draft Donovan McNabb. And McNabb did work out. He did work out, but he's another guy in that riskiest category. You didn't know that Donovan McNabb was going to be good. You just kind of hoped he would be good. Quarterbacks are a dime a dozen. They're hard to find. They're hard to track down. But if you can find the right one for your franchise, hey, you're looking pretty. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. That'd be me. We'll talk a little bit of basketball coming up next. Things that you'd like to hear about. We'll talk some Heisman candidates, Texas Longhorns and their QB woes on Clutch next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. Did you know that 1 out of 10 Americans will be diagnosed with what is considered to be a rare disease, and that it could take up to 3-5-8 years to diagnose that disease? Find out how my next guest, Jared Heyman, is using the internet to cut that time to less than 3 months. Don't miss Jared Heyman this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at EJ Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's EJ Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
When my brother and I opened our first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300-plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
I'm Keon Rose, host of Clutch with Keon Rose, filling in for Tex of Cowboy Up with Tex this week. And the thing to know about Tex is that he's on vacation. He's wrangling cowboys. He's wrangling cows. He's a cowboy wrangling cows. So Tex is going to come back next week. You can catch him from 6 to 7, Cowboy Up with Tex. And I will be moving from this here humble time to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we can get our sports talk on while you drive to the different places that you have to drive to. I don't presume to know what your job is. This is Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. You can follow us on Twitter at Hot News Radio, or find us on Facebook at Hot News. Search Hot News Talk Radio. You can find us on YouTube. You can get to see my beautiful face if you search Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube. So I know this is what everyone has been pining for, what everyone has been waiting for. We get to some NBA talk with my brother. He is a huge NBA fan. I believe his words were over-entitled NBA fan. Kerwin, how you doing?
I'm good, Keon. I'm just, I'm a little bowled over. You're on the radio and this is crazy, man. I do have one issue, and it's with the name of the show. We don't have to get into it, but go ahead.
You helped to name it. What?
I helped name it in so much as you asked me to name the show, and then I gave you some names. You ignored them and went with your girlfriend's suggestion, and then somehow I got lumped in with Clutch. Clutch sounds like a car show. You don't know I've known you for 23 years, my entire life. You know nothing about cars.
What are you talking? First off, clutch, as in moments in the clutch.
I understand
a clutch jumper, a clutch pass.
I watch too much sports, and I understand that. The layman fan, the
better know what clutch is.
To their destination is hearing clutch.
Are you telling me your average Tennessee Volunteers fan doesn't know what clutch is after all of the shenanigans that Joshua Dobbs helped to pull to help the Volunteers win games last year? I think people know what the word means.
All right. It has multiple definitions. You could have put in the clutch, which could not have been misascribed to anything. It's in the clutch, and then, people don't live inside of clutches. So it works on only a sport level. Keon Rose, I'm in the clutch.
This is unbelievable. I invite you onto my radio program, and the first thing you do is insult the name of the show. I want to hang up with you.
It's not too late to change it. You're 4 days in.
I want to hang up on you. You are my brother, and I care.
To go on forever and ever, 50 years of Keon Rose in the clutch, potentially.
Good Lord. Okay, we're just gonna jump into this because I will actually fight you if we keep going. 2016. Okay. The NBA's got its free agents. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I want to talk about our boy Billy Simmons, who used to work for ESPN and Grantland before he said some things and got fired. He had some things to say about the Los Angeles Clippers, who are possibly one of the biggest NBA contenders in the Western Conference specifically, but they're a contender to compete for a championship. And he called them one of the top 3 dysfunctional teams in the league. And I know you're a big Simmons fan. Could you tell me a little bit about those tweets and what you were thinking when you read them?
Listen, basically he went on Twitter and was like, the Clippers are very dysfunctional. He loves Steve Ballmer, but because Steve Ballmer took over for, I can't remember his name. Help me out here. The Clippers former owner.
Donald Sterling.
Terrible. Donald Sterling. Yeah, Donald Sterling, they took over for him, and it looked like this new era for the Clippers, one of the NBA's long-time most dysfunctional franchises, can never seem to get it right. And they just continue to be sort of more low-key, but still very much a dysfunctional organization, and that he was waiting to see which reporter burned all of their contacts in order to write this long expose piece on how dysfunctional the Clippers are. And you could see some of that dysfunction. They nearly failed to get DeAndre Jordan back in free agency. There's one free agency target.
The one guy that they needed to have back, and they almost messed that whole thing up.
And they pushed into okay, he's day 3 on the agenda. Day 1 is let's figure out what we're going to do with one of our bench players. During free agency, it was just nuts. And they have their coach, Doc Rivers, who is also their GM, so he runs the business and the basketball side, which are 2 full-time 80-hour-a-week jobs.
A situation that is dubious at best.
And as much as I love Doc Rivers and I think he's an excellent coach, I just don't. He gets in his own way. He just doesn't seem to quite understand that you can't do things for your personal fulfillment.
Re-sign your own son
to play for them, and
sign your son to the basketball team.
Rivers, an awful basketball player, and he's playing legitimate minutes for this Clippers team in the playoffs. It looks really bad to me personally. I just don't. I think that story is in fact coming. Bill Simmons has the credentials to me because he was a longtime ESPN employee. He wrote this book of basketball thing, and so he has contacts inside, the NBA elite circles and stuff like that. So I'm willing to believe that at least there is a story there. Maybe it never gets written, but there is a story there. And oh man, I can't wait for it to drop.
I agree. The voice of the Clippers, the play-by-play announcer, seems to believe that this is just a stunt by Simmons to get people to not forget about him. Like, hey, I'm Bill Simmons. Don't forget about me just because I'm not on ESPN anymore.
That is the other thing. Bill Simmons is known to be deeply biased, and Doc Rivers used to coach his Boston Celtics, and he spurned them and left to LA, and which is going to be a trend. But he spurned the Celtics and jumped to LA, and he doesn't seem to take these things and let them go. So there's
a kernel of truth to that.
The Clippers announcer is saying, but I don't know. The Clippers, they feel a little dysfunctional to me. And when you feel dysfunctional, it builds up. You know what I mean? It builds up and it could burst.
I hear you. Okay, well, I think that's enough talk about the Clippers. We have a huge free agency coming up next year. In 2016, we have a number of very big-name free agents coming free on the open market. Let's talk about a few of those. I'm gonna throw out some names, okay, and the amount of money that they're making this season, and you let me know if they'll be making anywhere near that again and where they'll be. Sound good?
Sound good. Let's go.
All right. Name number 1. You're a Lakers fan, so you should love this one. Kobe Bean Bryant. He's making $25 million.
Go ahead. Sorry.
He's making $25 million this year. Where does Kobe wind up?
How many?
$25 million.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Kobe Bryant. He's making $25 million this year. Where does he wind up next season?
$0, and he makes films in China. He's done after this. This is the Swan Song. He's gonna wave. He's gonna have a little tour thing. Every arena He's going to go to the Garden, and everyone's going to stand up and applaud. He's going to go back to Philly, and people are going to stand up and applaud. It's a wind down time for Kobe. This $25 million is coming off the books, and then he's done. He's done. He's old. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, his body has been giving out on him the last 3 seasons in really just terrible ways. Like, major injuries. He blew out his Achilles, and then his kneecap cracked, and now his shoulder was fully separated, and the muscle was torn. He's done. This is Kobe's last year, and I love Kobe Bryant, and I will watch every single game he plays, all 82. But this is the last year. We're going to be terrible, but it'll be fun to watch Kobe do it one more time.
Okay. Dwayne Wade, $20 million. Where does he wind up?
Probably in Cleveland, making the veteran exception, which is $3 million or something like that. The veteran mid-level is $3 million. I don't know.
So you think he's going to go back and play with his buddy LeBron? They're going to team up
He'll play with his buddy LeBron and only have to play 15 minutes off the bench, and then the playoffs come around. It's literally the dream situation for him. He gets another ring. He gets to be competitive. He gets to hang out with his best friend, his BFF for life.
Okay. I buy that, actually. You don't think Dwayne Wade wants to be a Miami Heat for his entire career? Because the Heat fans will hate him, right? If he goes to Cleveland, they will never forgive him.
That's true. He could stay, but they're not in the same range or ballpark number-wise, the Heat and him. They nearly came to an impasse this year, a situation where he would just not re-sign with the Heat, which would have been very strange, considering that he opted out for them so that they could re-sign LeBron 2 years ago. And he did them a favor, and you would think, oh, here comes the kickback. You're going to lock up Dwayne Wade for 3 years or $20 million each year. It's going to hurt them, but you have to look like you care about your players. Otherwise, people won't come there. But they were just no, we're not crazy about paying you to play 40 games next year.
Right.
Paying you, top tier level money to play 40 games for us and miss the playoffs. But we'll see. I like that. I like that idea, but I think the LeBron thing is way more appealing to me.
Me too. Joakim Noah makes $13.5 million. Where does he go?
He loves the Bulls. He's going to be a Bull for the rest of his career. How old is he? He's 27-ish?
He's 30.
But he's had so many injuries. And he was so far from that all-star form 2 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
I'd say probably stay there around. He's a big, tall guy who runs and blocks shots. So he could probably get $15 million somewhere. Probably as a Bull. He'll stay there, $15 million. A 4-year contract or something like that. Maybe it was a player option out of the last year.
That sounds about right. If he can stay healthy, he's one of the better centers in the league in terms of having a full skill set, handling the ball, passing the ball, even shooting. Even though his shot is funky looking, but it works.
15 feet, which is the big issue with him, because in the playoffs people would just not guard him. He would be standing there, and they would just leave. They'd tell the guy, just don't guard him. Play in the middle of play right under the basket, and that'll be how we play defense against the Bulls. And it just completely clogged up the Bulls' offensive, system, which was not the greatest to begin with, to be fair.
I gotcha. All right, here's a local guy now. Al Horford, Atlanta Hawks. He's being paid $12 million. Where does Al Horford go from here?
I don't know. He's 29, I believe. I like Al Horford. I think Al Horford he's a Tim Duncan player, but he has longer shooting range. He's more athletic. Well, not in Tim Duncan is fine, but Tim Duncan now. He's a Tim Duncan style player. He's a good glue guy, just a good organizational guy. Someone is going to give him $20 million. Just one of these teams is going to panic after having missed out on all these other free agents, all these other opportunities, coming up this summer, and they're going to panic and give up $20 million. It might just be the Hawks who do that. I think it would be the Hawks. For the sake of not getting, threatening messages, let me just say $20 million to the Hawks. That's what I'm going to say. I don't want to get dirty phone calls. $20 million for the next 4 years. He's going to retire a Hawk. Go Hawks.
Okay. Look, the thing I like about Horford is well, everything. I think he's behind Joakim. He's probably the most well-rounded big in the game. That's just my opinion. We've got about a minute and a half, and there's another controversial name that we want to run out here. And that is Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is currently being paid $20 million. Where does he go next season?
He's going to get the max no matter where he goes.
Right.
There are a few places that you got to throw out there. Obviously OKC is going to make a very strong play to keep him. There's Miami. Washington is his hometown. There's been rumors for like the past 3 years that he's going to go back there.
Hashtag KD to DC.
I would also like to put forth the most obvious choice, which is the Los Angeles Lakers pick up Kevin Durant in free agency. We got sunshine. We got pretty girls. We got movie stars. We got advertisement deals. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's right off the top. Simple as that.
He's not going. He's not going there.
That might hurt a little bit, but this is the truth.
The Lakers are sorry. He's not. No. He's not going there. The Lakers are bad.
Yes, the Lakers are bad, but we have money and we're in Los Angeles.
You've had money, and that hasn't stopped you from being bad for like 3 years. What are you telling me right now?
What do you mean? I'm telling you the truth. They've been bad for 3 years. That's not what's relevant about LA. We always sign our guys through free agency. We can get good really quick. We could just pull a double and maybe get Horford and KD.
All right, bro. We're up against it right now, so we will pick this up on the other side. We will talk a little bit more about this. This fight is not over, and we'll also talk about some Heisman Trophy candidates and the quarterbacking woes of the Texas Longhorns here on Clutch with Keon Rose on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. Next.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect clear skies to continue through the nighttime. Comfortable again overnight. Lows near 60. For Thursday, another nice day. Lots of sunshine. A little warmer out there, but still less humid. Highs near 85. Continue dry and warm on Friday as well, with highs 85 to 87. Join us for a great worship experience at Abba's House in Hickson, featuring inspiring messages by Pastor Ron Phillips and activities for all ages. Services start Sunday morning at 10:30. More at abbashouse.com. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr.
On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
We've got a table here at Delia's and Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's and Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
You want more business. You want to increase your bottom line. You want to spend less on advertising, imaging your business, and general expenses. You need Trade Bank. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank. Call now to get access to nearly 400 local businesses. Trade Bank. Call 877-2202. 877-2202. Trade Bank. You want to increase your cash flow, your competitive edge, attract new customers, and build a loyal customer base. You need Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call right now. 877-2202. When you join Trade Bank, you'll get the benefit of free advertising in our monthly magazine, tradebank.com, emails, and mailouts. Join Trade Bank now and receive your Trade Bank debit card with trade credits to spend any way you want with our wide variety of Trade Bank partners. For almost 30 years, Trade Bank has been your voice for small business, a member of the American Bankers Association, and in good standing with you. Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Call now for a free consultation, 877-2202. That's 877-2202. Trade Bank of Chattanooga.
If you have the DTs, the shakes, because your phone is on the fritz, you have nomophobia. You need help. Your telecom doctor is in. Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall. Cell Surgeon yanks open the ribcage of your phone, pries out the dead heart, and puts in the beating life that you lead on your cell phone. Broken screen, phone not charging, water damage, battery given out? Cell Surgeon at Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Check us out on Facebook. Open Sunday. Cell Surgeon. We bring your phone back to life. Mention Hot News Talk Radio and get 10% off.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hello, everybody. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me on this sunny afternoon here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We give you Chattanooga and the world. You can listen to us in a number of different places. We are everywhere. We're on Facebook if you search Hot News Talk Radio. You can find us on Twitter at our handle at Hot News Radio. You can search Hot News Talk Radio in the TuneIn Radio app, which can be downloaded from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And you can have Hot News Talk Radio wherever you go. We're also streaming on YouTube. You search Hot News Talk Radio, and you get to see my face or the face of David Tulis from 9 to 11, Eric Judd from 11 to noon. You can see Russell twice a day, which, I mean, come on, right? You get to see him from 12 to 1 on the Digital Drive, and later from 5 to 6 p.m. on Hot News Now, which is our local drive time show. Russell covers the news, both local and abroad, and we have weather and traffic updates for you. We were talking about NBA free agents, my brother and I, and we got to the very end. We were talking about Kevin Durant, where he was going to wind up. My brother's a abhorrent Lakers fan, and he believes Kevin Durant winds up in Los Angeles. Kerwin, I think you're nuts.
Okay. I'm not nuts.
How are you not nuts? Explain this to me right now.
Not nuts.
You're okay.
It's LA. I don't need to run down the attractiveness of LA. There's moderate weather year round, okay? They're pretty girls and movie stars and the bright lights and money. Money everywhere. People just want to hand you money. And here's the best part. Come to LA. The Los Angeles Lakers pitch is, one, okay, we're in a rebuilding phase, so we're going to make everything about you. We're going to suck for one more year when you come here, and then we're going to make a run at Russell Westbrook or one of the other free agents like DeMarcus Cousins that comes off in 2 years or something like that. But until then, everything is about you, which means everything in the organization is going to be tailored to you, including the coach. Imagine you're Kevin Durant, and you don't really love, the coach you have now. You come up, and you can just hand pick whomever you want. You want a Van Gundy? We'll get you a Van Gundy. You want Larry Brown? We can get you him too. Anyone is on the table.
First off, nobody would willingly jump into disciplinarian Larry Brown. That's one. Two, their coach right now in Oklahoma City is Kevin Ollie. Is Kevin Ollie. And three, how well has that pitch worked for any other free agent in the last 2 years? How has that gone over? Didn't Dwight Howard walk away? Didn't LaMarcus Aldridge sign in San Antonio? Has that pitch actually been working?
No, but what you're skipping over is that we got meetings with all of those dudes. We got meetings with Dwight Howard and LaMarcus Aldridge. We got meetings with these big name free agents. We got meetings with DeAndre Jordan, even though he wasn't even looking at Los Angeles, the Lakers as a legitimate landing spot. We're talking about free agents understand the allure of LA. All these NBA players have summer houses in Los Angeles. They want to live there anyway.
But nobody wants to play for a team that stinks.
We have in Washington, Keon. Explain to me the allure of the Washington Wizards, consummate middle-tier Eastern Conference, the worst of the two conference in the NBA.
We can promise you one superstar and another one in the making, and possibly the same pick of your head coach situation. Look, First off, Virginia is a beautiful place, and that's where everybody actually lives. You don't live in Washington, D.C. You live in Virginia. You commute to work. 1. 2, I'm not trying to sell the Wizards. I'm trying to tell you that whole Lakers spiel worked in the 90s. It doesn't work anymore. People don't want to just go to L.A. to be in beautiful L.A. on a team that stinks.
Gasol and Kobe Bryant, we won championships, 5 championships in the last 20 years.
Paul Gasol was glad to leave. He was happy wherever he was going. He didn't choose to go to L.A., by the way. He got traded. All right.
Got traded, but with his full knowledge, 1. 2, he resigned in L.A., so it's not like there was never a chance. There was at least.
I mean, he liked it there once he was there. Let's not act like that's the pitch that just magical pitch, like you pitch people LA and they just, oh, really? And just want to be in Los Angeles. And oh, by the way, there's another team in Los Angeles that doesn't stink, that if you want to live in Los Angeles and play for a team that's good, there's a place that you can go to do that.
Yeah, but as we discussed, they're dysfunctional, 1, and 2, with what money? They have 4 max players. 3 max players. They have 3 max players signed to their books. There is not space to sign Kevin Durant. They're one of the few teams that is already pushing the max. They could not have signed another player. They had to re-sign DeAndre Jordan because they had his bird rights. And that's the only player that they could have re-signed to max money that was worth anything in the next 2 years. We can sign him straight up. We're under the cap by solid like a $40 million when Kobe comes off the books. Admittedly, you guys can also sign him, but prepare to settle for like Al Horford or something because you're not getting Kevin Durant.
Here's the thing. The Wizards aren't getting Kevin Durant. I do agree with that, but they've got a better shot than Los Angeles does. If not for the only, you know why? Because
he's coming into his prime. He can
because here's the thing:
1 year until we're ready to make that move.
He doesn't want to lose a year, and if he goes to Washington, he wouldn't have to. He wouldn't.
Listen,
you'd be in the Eastern Conference right away, immediately.
He doesn't want D'Angelo Russell. We could trade. We knew we traded D'Angelo Russell anyway for DeMarcus Cousins. Everything is on the table except Kevin Durant. That is the pitch. We are yours.
You're still promising this guy 1 year of rebuild.
The NBA
in the Western Conference. Have fun. We're saying the team is already put together and it's in the East. So Kevin Durant shows up. You're immediately the second best team in the Eastern Conference. Immediately.
Like, I want to point out to you very clearly, though, that it's almost better to be in the West.
Why?
When it comes playoff time, these Western teams, they pick each other up. You only have to play a legitimate contender maybe once if you're in the West.
I would argue the same thing for the East.
In the finals.
I would argue the same thing for the East. You play a lot more games, but you're
for sure going to get the best team. Like, it's 100% written in stone. You catch the best team coming in the NBA coming out of the West.
I'm saying
last year with Golden State, you're for sure going to get them.
I'll take my chances. I will take my chances with the one series with the best team as opposed to 3 series with any team that can beat me and just knock me off. Like the 8th seed in the West is not a joke. That's scary.
I agree with that sentiment, but it's not like they're going to. The 8th seed is going to be like New Orleans or the Mavericks, and that team is not going to knock you off. It might push you a little bit. It might sharpen your sword a little bit. It might make you better. But the thing is, in the Western Conference, you have competition, and already you have access to all of these things you don't have in the East, like warm weather and nicer-looking people.
And tougher teams to play against, and one team that wears purple and gold and isn't very good. Look, it's been great talking to you, bro. We'll have to.
Because I feel like it has ended on a sour note, and the sour note is that you were wrong and we'll accept it.
Oh wow! You know what? Yeah, you. I had a thing to say about you just now, but I can't say it on the air. Just know we got to do this again. It's been fun.
It's been fun. Always a pleasure, Keon.
All right. That was my brother. He's a Laker fan, basketball nut, and apparently he's lost all of his marbles. And I got to get home and help him find it at some point. This guy, the Lakers. But enough about basketball, especially hypothetical next year basketball. Let's talk about something a little bit more relevant. to this moment, and that would be Heisman Trophy candidates. As you know, college football season is right around the corner, and the Heisman Trophy awarded to the best all-around player in the NCAA is up for grabs, and anybody has got a shot to win it. But usually players from the SEC, I think, in my opinion, have more of a shot of winning it because of the depth and the talent inside of that conference. And so the top 4 Heisman Trophy candidates, so far as the research that I've been able to find and things that I've looked up, and just from watching the games last year, you've got Nick Chubb, the Georgia running back. He had 13 touchdowns in 8 games, which is insane. And it's not a big sample size of in terms of looking at what he's done in his body of work. But I think that you can pretty much bank on the talent that he displayed last year and the fact that Georgia has probably the best offensive line in college football. He's got as good a shot as anybody as winning the Heisman. And he's going to have a good look at it this year. Cody Kessler, the quarterback out of USC, I think that he's probably in this whole bunch a little bit overrated, but at the same time, he's still very good. There's a lot of talent on that USC team, and he's going to have a lot to play for. Maybe redeem his head coach Steve Sarkisian a little bit, and he's gonna be motivated. I think he's gonna put up some numbers for sure. He's a talented guy, and in fact, the Cody Kessler and the next 2 guys I'm about to mention are important to me, because if this whole Robert Griffin III thing doesn't work out for Washington, we might be talking about looking at a quarterback this time next year. Cody Kessler's one. Mississippi State has Dak Prescott. He's the other one. The thing I worry about Dak Prescott is that he is alone on that team. That team doesn't have a whole lot of talent, and that's mostly because the talent graduated last year, and they're off doing other things in life, whether that is playing in the NFL or anything else. This team is, from top to bottom, one of the more shallow SEC teams. So Dak Prescott in a little bit of trouble, but as far as winning the Heisman Trophy goes, he's got an opportunity. And if this team can win and he can put up the numbers, he'll be in the mix. But I think it'll be very hard for him to do. And the last one, my favorite of this quarterback bunch, because I honestly, in my personal leader for the Heisman Trophy is Nick Chubb. I think Chubb's got what it takes. I think Ezekiel Elliott in Ohio State is probably another running back to look at in that category too. But I just think that the offensive line of Georgia is so good that it's hard to look at Nick Chubb and say that he's not going to win it. But my personal favorite of the quarterbacks, Trayvon Boykin. Trayvon Boykin can straight up ball. I just like the way that he throws the ball. I like his mobility. I like his decision-making. He's very fast and he's very quick in terms of getting the ball out of his hands and moving in a very quick and up-tempo pace for TCU. And he's backed by one of the best defenses, well, the best defense in the Big 12, probably, them or Texas, and one of the best defenses in the entire nation. So he's going to have a lot of opportunities to get the ball back, and he's going to throw the ball a ton. And if Nick Chubb doesn't get it, I think Boykin is that next guy that's got a shot. And quarterbacks have a better shot than anybody to win the Heisman Trophy. And as this show comes to a close, I have to talk about my Texas Longhorns, because ESPN wrote a great article on the Texas Longhorns and their QB issues and the issues that this team has had over the years. It's been about 5 or 6 years. Colt McCoy got knocked out of that championship game against Alabama in 2009, and the Texas Longhorns haven't had a quarterback that they could rely on since. Garrett Gilbert stepped into that national championship game and helped the Longhorns hang around in it, but they weren't able to win the game, and everyone was like, but look, Garrett Gilbert looked amazing in the game, so we've got an opportunity to have a good quarterback moving forward. And then Garrett Gilbert kind of he didn't show the same things that he showed in that game, and he looked bad, for just lack of a better way of saying it. He looked awful. And the Longhorns have gone through Tyrone Swoops most recently. He's got an opportunity to still try and keep his job down in Texas. They've gone through Colt McCoy's brother, Case McCoy. It's just stuff that just doesn't, none of it worked out. And the thing that made me mad, and I think that everybody's got these moments in life, right, where you something has happened in the past, but you don't get an opportunity to get mad about it until today. That's what happened to me today. I found out retroactively that Mac Brown had the opportunity to sign Andrew Luck, who was a Heisman Trophy finalist. And he's Andrew Luck. He's amazing. He's going to be probably one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history by the time his career is over. They had an opportunity to sign Johnny Manziel, who looks like he's turning his career around with the Browns. And also, he was a Heisman Trophy winner. They had an opportunity to sign J.T. Barrett, who's up in Ohio State right now. He played on the national title winning team last year before he got injured, but he's a big contributor as to why that team even made the college football playoff. And they had an opportunity to sign Jameis Winston, who also won the Heisman Trophy, won a national title in Florida State. And I am so mad right now. Why did this happen? Why? How do you whiff on all four of these guys? And it's not like they tried to recruit these guys and the guy said no. You know what happened? All of these guys were never offered a scholarship. They reached out to Texas and they got nothing. They got absolutely nothing. But you know what? You know who won't leave you with absolutely nothing? Tomorrow morning, David Tulis from 9 to 11. He'll be talking about economics and local governments. You want to stick around for that. I'm Keon Rose, and this has been Clutch.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world. You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Sunny Daisy.
2 TV journalists murdered on camera.
It has really stopped me in my tracks this morning.
The Dow jumps more than 600 points.
Maybe after 6 consecutive days of selling, some investors thought things were getting overdone.
This is the CBS World News Roundup, late edition. I'm Bill Whitney. An estimated 40,000 viewers were tuned in to WDBJ-TV in Roanoke, Virginia this morning as young reporter Allison Parker and cameraman Adam Ward did a live shot, an interview with a local official. Without warning, gunshots. Parker screamed and ran. As Ward fell, his camera captured a fleeting image of a man pointing a gun. Parker and Ward were both killed. The woman they were interviewing, Vicki Gardner, was wounded. Bill Overton is the local sheriff.
It has really stopped me in my tracks this morning. Like many viewers, I was watching this morning's broadcast and couldn't understand really what was happening.
The gunman was quickly identified as 41-year-old Vester Lee Flanagan, a former reporter at the station who used the name Bryce Williams on the air. WDBJ president and general manager Jeffrey Marks says Flanagan was difficult to work with.